purpose of this TechNet is to enlighten amateur radio operators on topics of a technical nature. We'll do our best to answer any technical questions for the benefit of all those who are listening. If there's a subject that has never been made quite clear to you, this is a great opportunity to find an answer. If anyone feels they have information that will help regarding that subject, please give your call sign and Net Control will call on you. This net may be interrupted at any time for emergencies or priority traffic. If you need to use the system for an emergency during the net, say break and give your call sign. We'll acknowledge you and suspend the net until you advise that you are clear. Is there any emergency or priority traffic at this time? All licensed amateur radio operators with 70-centimeter privileges are encouraged to check into the net. NCARC club membership is encouraged but never required for participation. Check-ins are requested for the purpose of counting participation and no checkout is required. When checking in, please give your call sign slowly, first alphabetically, then again using the ITU phonetic alphabet, along with your name and location. And if you've got a topic to discuss tonight, let me know when you check in. I'll be doing check-ins in groups of 3. After the first 3, I'll acknowledge them. Let's start with check-ins from Echolink. Echolink only, please call now. Okay, let's go ahead with over-the-air check-ins for call suffixes alpha through Mike. First 3, alpha through Mike, please go now.
K0MLG, Kilo 0, Mike, Lima Golf, Marty, listen traffic.
WW8, Whiskey Whiskey 8, Lima, Tim and Windsor, no traffic.
KF0, ODD, no traffic.
Okay, the net acknowledges K0MLG, WW8L, and KF0ODD. Good evening, Marty, Tim, and Paul. Next group of 3, go now.
HAK, Kilo 0, Hotel, Alpha, Kilo, Dave in Fort Collins.
WA9FBO, Whiskey Alpha 9, Foxtrot, Bravo, Oscar, Bob in LaPorte.
Whiskey Alpha 7, Echo Mike, add an Erie, a brief comment.
Okay, and ignore my phone ringing in the background. The net acknowledges K0HAK, WA9FBO, and WA7EM. Next group of 3, go now.
This is
R0AD, Whiskey Romeo 0 Alpha Delta, Chris and Severance, no traffic.
This is N0EMP, November 0, Echo Mike Papa, Greg in Fort Collins with Debbie, K0DBE, Kilo 0 Delta Bravo Echo, and the rain has just started here, and no other traffic in 0EMP.
Yeah, the net acknowledges WR0AD. Chris, if I didn't get that right, come back. N0EMP and K0DBE. Next group of 3, go now. Well, either the cat's got your tongues or I ran out of A through M. So let's open it up to all call suffixes. All call suffixes, alpha through Zulu. Call now.
N0 NYY, November 0 November Yankee Bart in Evans. I am with Gene. N0 QXQ, November 0 Quebec X-ray Quebec. I have a topic and an announcement.
This is KB0YDN, Kilo Bravo 0, Yankee Delta November. Eric, Pinewood Lake, no traffic.
Okay, let's hold up there. The net acknowledges N0NYY, N0QXQ, and KB0YDN. Eric, is it snowing up at Pinewood Lake yet?
According to Pete, RCR, it snowed for a half hour earlier. I was down in town for about 3-4 hours, and when I came back to wet streets and roads all over the place with white stuff on the side. So I called out on our local net to find out if it was snow or hail. Back to net, KB0YDN.
Yeah, thanks. It sounds like we'll all get a little bit of it tonight. Anyway, next group of three. Go ahead and call now.
This is
W5VV, Whiskey 5, Victor, Victor, Bill in Livermore.
This is
K0 NMR, Kilo 0, November Mike Romeo, Joseph in Fort Collins.
This is WB5 TEX, Whiskey Bravo 5, Tango Echo X-Ray, Dale, Loveland, no traffic.
Okay, the net acknowledges W5 Victor Victor, K0 NMR, and WB5 TEX. Next group of three, go now.
This is Kilo or KD0 FQN, Kilo Delta 0, Foxtrot Quebec November, Rick in Loveland.
This is AE0CF, Alpha Echo 0, Charlie Foxtrot, Ben Fort Collins.
KF0 SFW, Kilo Fox 0, Sierra Fox Whiskey, Dustin and Milligan.
Okay, the net acknowledges KD0 FQN, AE0CF, and KF0 SFW. Next group of three, go now. Okay, hearing none, let's go on. We'll go back and take late check-ins, English, hell of a language. We'll take late check-ins a bit later. Marty, K0MLG, did you say you had a topic?
You bet, I do. I have a topic for HF wires.
Go ahead, it's all yours.
I've been running an 84-foot wire in-fed with an un and a tuner, and been having all kinds of fun with that. And my tuner is starting to act up and acting weird. And last year I had ordered a different wire kit, antenna kit anyway, and I just never took the time to put it up. And while this tuner is giving me fits, I thought, man, it's a perfect time to put this antenna in the air. So I wanted to try it just at the same elevation. Now this is a 103-foot wire built by my antenna. Comes with a big transformer. It's 14-gauge wire. The components on this thing are quality. Something that kind of hard to find in ham gear anymore. Excuse me. So I ran it, and I was having great success, Break. And I had the idea, well, why leave it flat? Which that wire being that length has quite a bit of droop anyway, which is not a big deal. It worked just fine. But where it was located, I didn't want to leave it there. So I thought, why not put the center of the wire in a tree? So N0B&K came over, and he's got a air cannon for a launcher, and we launched a weight up in the tree, and we got the apex up there, I don't know, about 30 feet. And I am so impressed with this antenna being like that. So it's an end-fed half wave as a inverted V. And if you people are still struggling with good signals and noise, my signal went up. I did a signal test locally here between Loveland and LaPorte, and made notes of that before I took the wire as a horizontal configuration down, right? So I went from an S9 to an S5 noise floor, and my signal increased 2 to 3 S units locally here on the same day, morning, afternoon, within about 5 hours, 6 hours of each other, so conditions didn't change much. I also run for 10 and 12 meter a IMAX 2000 vertical, and it's only about 10 feet, 12 feet AGL, and it works great for DX work into Europe, Africa, all over the place. It works great for that. And the horizontal wire, obviously, is not going to do it near as good. But this configuration is almost as good as the IMAX 2000. I tested it again tonight talking to Japan. And the IMAX 2000 has little bit better signal, and it's not quite as noisy as the wire. But for those that are struggling, trying to get their signal out and they're running a horizontal wire, if you can get the apex of your, the peak of your roof or a tree or something, it doesn't have to be 100 feet in the air like you hear. Oh, it's got to be 50 and 60. No, it doesn't. It does not have to be. Work with what you have and give it a try. I think you'd be impressed if you have room to do that. Any questions or anything before I go? Okay, well, I guess they learned enough or already knew it. Anyway, back to net, K0 MLG.
Actually, Marty, I had a question. You had said the noise floor went down and your received signal went up. Have you noticed about on the transmitting side, have you noticed improvement in transmitting, or did you say that and I missed it?
The signal, the testing that we did, my received signal, the signal I received went up, and what KD0FQN and N0BNK, what they heard was a significant improvement in my signal.
Interesting. And then one other question. You said the noise floor on the IMAX 2000 is lower than that antenna?
Yeah, a little bit. To me, it's a huge deal. But those IMAX 2000s are pretty spendy nowadays, and I probably got this one for $100. So would I go out and buy one just to do that? I have to think long and hard about it. It is quite well. Like for me, it's an improvement. Other people will say, I can take that little bit of noise, but yep, the IMAX is quieter by just a bit.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was just thinking about noise versus vertical polarization versus quasi-horizontal, but who knows. Anyway, thank you. That's very interesting. Anybody else have any questions or comments for Marty?
NYY.
Go ahead, Bart.
Marty, in the inverted V configuration of the NFED, you said the center was about 30 feet, if I heard correctly. What are the ends at, and can you estimate what the angle is between the two legs?
Yeah, it's about 30 feet up there, and the ends are about 6 foot. It's about as high as I can read. Well, about 8 foot. So the ends are 8 foot, and the separation. Well, I'd say we're probably about a 45 degree, kind of a 45, maybe 50. The wire got caught in the branch up there, so from where the one attachment point is, the transformer up to the top of the tree, and then it makes a hard 90 over to another branch, and then about a 45 degree angle down. And I didn't want to take the time to try to redo everything just to get it off that one branch, so. I would say probably about a 45, maybe 55 degree angle at the top.
Roger, thank you. Back to net.
MLG.
YDN question.
Go ahead, Eric.
Again, brand of NFED?
My antenna, and I should say, these now I'm running the model 7510-2K because it'll cover the entire 75 meter band or 80, whatever you want to call it. It'll cover the entire band where the other ones miss out just a little bit on the top end, and it'll also handle the power, hence 2K, in case I ever decide to hook the amp up that I have here. So, which is not 2K, by the way. These have like a circuit board between the two wires, and there's holes in each end, and then they have strain relief there. So I mean, these things, the reviews on them are unbelievable. Snow, ice, wind, you name it. People say they just stay in the air. So I'm not too worried about that. I think there must be a couple of capacitors or a capacitor and a resistor or something in there. I haven't quite figured it out yet. They built this thing and then put shrink wrap over it. So the only way I'd have to cut it off and then reseal it somehow. But this thing is so impressive. If I can't duplicate it by just using a 49-to-1 and some wire, I'm going to buy another one for camping. I'm so impressed with it. I don't need a tuner. You don't need a tuner at all. It goes 80 to 10, right on through. Has a little problem on 60 because I do use the internal tuner just messing with it. But you just plug it in and start talking. It's simple as that.
Thank you. Looking at it now. KB0YDM, back to net.
K0MLG.
Anybody else have any questions for Marty?
KC0YJR, Rod, and Fort Collins.
Yeah, YJR, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say hello, that I just joined the Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club here last week. I figured I was using the receivers, and I'm here in Fort Collins. I should join and become a member and learn a lot more. Just experimenting with CMR, YSF, YSX, iStar, WTMP, OpenSpot, all these acronyms, right? But I think I've learned a lot in a few weeks. But I just want to say I'm glad to have you guys as information, and that I could lean on to get other things like that. So anyhow, I just want to introduce myself. Here I'm in northern Colorado.
Yeah, great. Well, welcome to the club and welcome to the net. It's great to have you here. And as we say, there is no question that's too simple for the net. Any questions you have on DMR, setup, whatever, bring them to the net. That's what we're here for. Your signal was breaking up quite a bit, so if it's possible, if you're on an HT, to maybe move around a little bit or step outside if worse comes to worse to improve your signal. But we're able to hear you, so welcome. This is K0AZA Net Control for tonight's NCARC TechNet. WA7EM Ed, did you say you had a topic or an announcement?
WA7EM, more of a operational comment, maybe a little bit off topic for a TechNet. I just want to say that the ARRL sideband worldwide contest this weekend was a lot of fun. Propagation was good, a lot of signals. At the beginning, it was cram-packed with signals. Later, it got better, and it was like shooting fish in a barrel. You know, I got 40 or 50 contacts. Now, very few of them are new. A few of them are new for me. I was mostly filling in the blanks on the ARRL, whatever the right term is, where you work 1,000 stations. It's a multiplier of stations and bands and modes. So keep your eyes open for such contests. It's a lot of fun. If you think you won't get if not in the running for DX stuff, you can find out you're wrong. WA7EM.
Oh, thank you for that information, Ed. Anybody have any questions of Ed?
No question, but I'll tell you what, the bands were hopping like I don't think I've ever seen before. I mean, you couldn't help but making contacts. K0MLG?
Yeah, I guess I'm going to have to dust off this HF radio and get back into it. Okay, N0NYY Bart, you said you had a question and an announcement?
Yes, or more of a topic and an announcement. Announcement first. This Wednesday is the Loveland Lunch at Perkins on Highway 34, 2222 West Eisenhower. 11:30 Wednesday morning. Consider it TechNet with lunch. There's often well over 100 years of radio experience there. And you can see some of the faces that you're hearing. And it's a great social event, a great opportunity to get together. And the Perkins food isn't bad either. So it's a real good opportunity there. Again, 11:30 this Wednesday, 2222 West Eisenhower, which is 34 in Loveland. Look for the tallest flagpole in town. And the topic, interesting parallel to Marty's topic. I have an inverted V, or a doublet rather, just inverted V fed with ladder line. Apex at 30 feet, 90-degree angle between the two legs. Two legs are about 7 feet off the ground at the ends. It is copper weld. It's the big 400 ohm, 1-inch wide window ladder line. There's a ballon outside to bring it into coax right outside the ham shack, so there's about 4 feet of coax there. However, I live near an industrial park and within a mile of a 5,000 watt during the day, 2,000 watt at night AM radio transmitter at 1310. My typical HF band noise level is between 10 and 20 over S9 most of the time, down to an S9 on 20 meters during the day, a little bit higher at night, and making most of the HF bands unusable on that antenna. Mind you, it transmits really, really well. So, thanks to some encouragement from Greg and Tim, both of whom I wish to thank for their input on this project, I now have a loop on ground antenna. That loop is 60 feet of wire. It's semi-squarish shaped because it's not stapled down yet. It'll be very square when it gets stapled down. 15 feet on the side. That's not very big. I don't have a really big yard. Tim provided a ballon in a box. I believe it's a 9-to-1. Greg provided a binocular ferrite for another ballon, which I have right next to me, already wound. I just need to put it in a box. And the results are staggering. I took a video, I put it on my YouTube channel, I put it on my Facebook page, of a A-B comparison on my 7300 with a little over S9 on 20 meters and S0 to S1 on the loop on ground. Yes, that is 9 or 10 units less noise. And the signals that I was receiving with the loop on ground, which, by the way, is not designed to be a transmitting antenna, probably could, but it's not going to work very well at all. But that differential in noise is staggering. During part of that experiment, I listened to, and in fact talked back to, J62K on St. Lucia Island in the Caribbean, about 3,000 miles away. I did make a contact with that guy. I could hear him much better on the loop on ground than I could on the doublet because of the noise level. And, as has already been mentioned, propagation was crazy. I was hearing people all over the country with S6, S7, S8, S9 signal levels and S0, S1 noise levels on the loop on ground, most of whom, 90% of whom, I could not hear at all on the doublet antenna. This is a huge game changer. The source, stand by one here, just a second. The source that Tim sent me for this loop on ground in the ballon is Kilo 5 Juliet Yankee.net. They do an excellent explanation of how, why, what, and what happens. And And I've been reading about this and hearing about this, and I'm like, yeah, okay, let's go test it out. Well, holy smokes, as I said, this is a game changer for me. I can now actually do HF with that loop-on-ground antenna for receive and the doublet for transmit. At the moment, I'm manually switching, but I will have my relay box done to automatically switch between the two antennas for transmit and receive within the next week or so. But I would encourage you to look at the video. I would encourage you to look at the KK5JY site. It's absolutely amazing. It was almost too good to be true. And now I can go play HF again and zero in my line.
Yeah, a question for you, Bart. I'm just looking at the KK5JY website now without having dug very far into it. Does it need to be square or can it be rectangular?
From what I read on that site, and I haven't researched elsewhere, it doesn't matter. It can be round, it can be square, it can be a diamond, it can be rectangular. What I took away from that is if you consider the feed point to be the center, there will be slight directionality perpendicular to the center and opposing corner. So if my feed point is on the south side of the antenna and the center of the antenna is the north side, I will have a slightly stronger pattern east to west. On the KK5JY site, there is a bunch of antenna modeling pictures of how this works and what it does. And there's even some things you can do with the loop to get rid of the directionality if you want to.
Interesting. So I have a noise floor kind of comparable to what you've got at your place. My problem is, as you and I have talked about in the past, I have a stupid backyard. It's about 10 feet deep and 65 feet wide, so I'm kind of limited in what I can do. So food for thought. I appreciate it. Anybody else have any questions of Bart?
WR0AD, Chris with a comment for Bart.
Go ahead, Chris.
I just wanted to express my appreciation for you going on this journey, Bart, and also for Marty earlier for his direction on that NFED half-wave. I'm currently in Severance, and I've been dealing with a lot of issues out here. I've got almost an identical setup to you, Bart. I've got 30 feet in the air. I did a multi-band dipole that I built myself and ran back here. And I'm right behind some high power lines, but they've never really given me any issues until about a month ago. They're digging a lake back here in Severance, and they started using a shack with some old transformers that are running down to it, and I'm getting massive RF explosions out here. So I've been running around with my Yagis and mag loops trying to pinpoint everything, and my one step is to get a hold of the power company after I get this all sorted out, but I'm definitely on my next mission for this loop on ground to see if I can mitigate some of my noise floor issues over here. So I appreciate all your information from this and your journey doing it. I've been looking it up since you first mentioned it. WR0AD, back to net.
If you can, touch base with Tom, AE3TB, if you hear him on. He's usually on the net, but I didn't hear him check in. I did not hear him check in tonight. He works for Poudre Valley REA, and he knows the people to put you in touch with to get issues of that nature resolved as well. Somebody else that Marty was talking to earlier today had some input on that also. But anyway, good information. And I was really discouraged with my HF here. And now I'm like a little kid at Christmas. I am all excited and chomping at the bit.
Comment?
Anybody else have anything for Bart?
Question for Bart and a comment for Severance.
Go ahead, Marty.
Hey, Bart, that website again, I didn't write it down. And then how are you switching between receive and transmit? I don't know if you said, if you did, I didn't hear it.
The website, Marty, is Kilo 5 Juliet Yankee .net. I'll go ahead and text that to you too. The other thing, I have this old-fashioned thing called an antenna switch, and right now the doublet is on 5. The on ground is on 2, and I just switch back and forth between the two. However, I have a TR relay coming. I also, for HF, you can build a TR relay for not major problems. Just want to be sure and check the loss and the SWR on all bands, and I will be doing that as well, but I also ordered one online. The problem I have is I'm not sure that it will switch 100 watts and be happy about it. I will find out. And I also have boxes of relays. I even have some coaxial relays with BNC connectors out in my shed. I just haven't run out there to get one. I've been too excited playing with this thing and fixing other radios to run over to Windsor to get my relays out of the shed. So, for the moment, it's manual, but it's perfectly doable. Next time, I will probably reconfigure my switch box so that those two antennas are right next to each other. And then you simply switch over to one to receive and switch over to the doublet before transmitting. And when it comes to activating the relay box, because it will be a mechanical relay, I will also put a delay in the 7300. When you push to talk, it'll key the TR relay, and then it'll wait X number of milliseconds, whatever you tell it, before it actually brings up the HF power amp. So that allows you to have one more step of protection, just to make sure that you're not doing any switching when that power amp comes online, because that could be, almost certainly would be catastrophic.
All right, copy that. Thanks. At Severance Station, who's your power provider?
We currently have XL running out here right now, but the main lines that are running, so we're on the back side of, we're like right behind Bruce's. So the main lines that are running back here, and I want to say it's Poudre Valley that actually maintains that, and whatever their access is running off, it's literally right behind my house. There's like a utility shed for a pumping station that they just recently turned on, and I'm getting spikes coming from that shed right now.
Yeah, copy that. I've got power line noise at my station. I'm about 1,000 feet from power lines, and I made a call to XL a year or so ago, and it didn't go anywhere. And so I called this morning at 7, and at 10:30, I had a phone call. I was away from home. Hey, it's XL. Hey, I'm out here at your place looking stuff over, and I said, well, I really need to be able to be out there to be able to show you what's going on. I said, you've already got that equipment. Nope, I don't. So here's what's interesting. XL Energy has a team of power line noise professionals. I just made that up. That's what they do. They fix power line noise statewide. They're based out of Denver. And if anybody's ever driven up I-25 and seen the 6-meter beams in the air, he called in 2 years ago, and XL went. This team from Denver came out and fixed whatever it was. So probably where I'm at is probably there's a wetlands over there, so grounds are probably rotted. And then some research on that break. Their lightning arresters and the big fuses that they run, those things start barking and sparking, and you can't hear it with your ears when you're underneath the lines. You don't see it at night, but it causes this problem. There's a guy, I can't remember where he's at, but he's done extensive research on power line noise. That's usually what it is. Like I said, they're lightning arresters and those big fuses. So, which may be one and the same. I'm not sure. I'm not a lineman. Anyway, just some information for you. If the noise is REA, they'll take care of it right away because they're local. So, and they like Bart said, they get right on top of that. They don't. They take that seriously when hams have, or anybody has, power line noise. Back to that, Kaiser MLG. Comment?
With a reply to that?
Well, we had a double, and I don't know who won. So whoever ended, reply to that, come back.
This is WR0AD with a reply for that, and I appreciate that as well for looking at the lightning arresters. And I was doing a lot of research, and I found online the guy who runs the ham radio crash course on YouTube had one of these exact situations happen, and it was one of the utility boxes, and he went and pinpointed it and had the crews come out. So I kind of followed everything that he was doing. I've got a bunch of Raspberry Pis that I've got for SDR that I could triangulate with, and then I used my ICOM ID52 Plus for my band scope on there. So I kind of directed to where everything was at, and I'm kind of waiting so I can get back out and test in these areas, because he was showing the same thing. There's a few bolts that are connected to the insulators that you can see that they're kind of separating away, and that's what he pinpointed as well. And you've got some arcing that comes through there just below the lightning arrestor. So I'm hoping that's going to be what I can pinpoint with it, and maybe get them to come out and resolve this. And I'm sure they'll get out on top of it as long as I have everything dialed in to give them info on it. And I'm going to try that loop on ground that Bart did as well, and hopefully we can resolve this noise floor issue, because it's like an atomic bomb out here right now. I can't hear anything. WR0AD, back to net.
Thanks, Chris. And whoever doubled with Chris earlier, go ahead.
This is W0LEI, Chad, late check-in, but also comment here. The power companies there's a law or a regulation, 72 hours to address RF interference. You may have to explain to whoever you're talking to on the phone what RF interference is, but they are required by law to address it within 72 hours.
Yeah, it's interesting. Thanks, Chad. Anybody else?
EMP.
Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, a couple comments on power line noise. It's obviously very broadband noise. The signal strength tends to get stronger the lower you go in frequency. So you can start out, if you have an AM radio in your car, you can listen at the bottom of the band around 520 and up at the top of the band about 1710 if you find a spot where there's no station, and you'll hear an increase as you get closer to the noise source. Then as you start to get close, you can start going up in frequency, and as you go up in frequency, the signal strength will be lower, so you can begin using SDRs and ham radio, HTs and things like that. You don't hear the noise very well on FM, so if you listen on any kind of receiver that'll do an AM mode, and you start listening at 2 meters, and then as you get closer, 70 centimeters and so on, you can localize it pretty quick. Let me reset. And a humorous anecdote is a couple summers ago I noticed a new noise source in the neighborhood, and I tracked it down to a pole transformer on the other side of the loop, and it wasn't, by loop I mean my neighborhood's on a loop, so about a quarter mile away. And it wasn't enough to it wasn't causing me any problems, so I didn't call the power company or anything else like that. It was just something I had noted and I had tracked down. And this pole transformer was an old pole transformer. It was yellow instead of gray, and it had all these black streaks on it where melted tar had leaked through the lid. Real sad-looking thing. And it was summertime, like I said, and one day, and I had my windows open. I was here in the shack, and the side of the house faces kind of that direction, and I had the windows open because it was summer, and all of a sudden I heard this kaboom, and the power went out, and I went out, and that transformer had blown up on the pole, and that was the end of that noise source. And 0 EMP.
A dramatic end. Any other comments on this topic? Okay, this is K0AZA, Net Control for the Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club Weekly TechNet. Are there any late check-ins, additional comments, questions, or other discussion?
Late check-in KF0SHW Kilo Foxtrot 0 Sierra Hotel Whiskey. This is Mary.
Hi, Mary. Thank you for the late check-in. Anybody else?
MLG.
Well, we had a double and MLG won, so Marty, go ahead. And doubling station, you can go next.
Well, when I was running TechNets last year, year before, early last year, I guess, I tried to get a weekly or a bi-weekly, well, it's been a monthly thing because I TechNet once a month. A monthly 6-meter little quick net, and it kind of went, people went, oh yeah, that'd be cool, and it kind of fizzled out. And then I got to where I just couldn't run the tech nets. I was too busy running a nonprofit, and but there were some hams at my house the other day, and so would you guys be interested in doing that again? I'm going, yeah, let's do that. So I'm wondering if any of you are, if you're interested, send me an email. It'd be a 6-meter, maybe once a month net, like maybe the night that Ron does it. Well, do 6 meters, and then go there, everybody checks in, and then we move to, say, 40 meters or 80 meters, or maybe both. One band would be enough for me, I think. I don't want to spend all night long doing it, but if there's any interest in that, doing after a net, and get on 6 right away, on sideband, it really would only work if you have a vertical 6-meter antenna. At that band, we pretty much have to be all same polarization to make it work. We've already tested this last year, and we found that out, right? And then the 40-meter wouldn't matter if you got an inverted V, long wire, short wire, whatever. And that's kind of an NVIS, which we've talked about before. So if you're interested in that, if I get enough interest, maybe I wouldn't mind starting to do that while I have time. And my email is kc0qok@gmail. kc0qok@gmail. Shoot me an email and see if we can get something going. K0MLG.
Thanks, Marty. Station that doubled with Marty. I didn't catch the call sign. Come back.
Yes, this is Kilo Charlie 0 Yankee 2 at Romeo. Rod here in Fort Collins. I guess, yes, I'm a late check-in. I talked a little bit earlier. I tried to get in here, but I'm going to ask a question. I feel like I'm talking to a lot of Einstein here, and it's just maybe too basic for you guys, but I am on a handheld. I'm on an SG-70B, and you said you could barely hear me or there's some static, and maybe I should go outside. I really don't want to go outside on my deck, so two things. Should I get a better antenna on my radio? And the next thing is I'm definitely going to go to Perkins to absorb the knowledge from the guys this next weekend, but any recommendations? I have a technical license. I'm going to work on a general. This is KC0YJR. Sorry if this is too basic of a question.
K0AZA for the beep. Yeah, Rod, you were pretty much lost in the noise. You might even try just moving around within your house a bit and see if that helps any. Oftentimes it does. And for those of you that didn't hear it, Rod said he was on an HT and wondered about recommendations for improving his signal. I've got my own ideas, but let's see what anybody else has to tell him. Anybody?
EMP.
Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, when I got licensed in 2015, one of the first pieces of advice I picked up, and it was actually just by listening to this repeater. I wasn't actively involved in that conversation, but Mark Clark, W2MIC, who's now a silent key, was talking about the Nagoya 771. That's NAGOYA, which I believe is a Japanese manufacturer. 771. It is an extended dual-band whip antenna for HTs, and it makes a big difference. There are also counterfeit Nagoya antennas, so you want to buy yours from a reputable dealer like Ham Radio Outlet, Gigaparts, DX Engineering, any of those. You don't want to just buy it off some random site because you might get a cheap imitation. That's the Nagoya 771, and it comes in different radios. Most ham HTs now use an SMA connector, but there are antennas where the antenna end is SMA male, and there are other radios where the antenna is SMA female. Nagoya makes both, so you want to make sure you get the correct gender of the antenna when you order one. And 0 EMP. And YY.
Rob, that was all unintelligible. I hate to send you out into the cold, but you might try stepping outside real quick and see if we can pick you up any better. And while you're moving around, Bart, did you have a comment?
A couple for Rob there. Number one, while you're listening, move around and find the strongest signal in your house there that you can, move around and watch your S-meter. And remember that 6 inches on 440 is the difference between a completely additive reflection and a completely subtractive reflection. So a couple of inches at a time can make a huge difference in your signal, and once you get the strongest received signal, that will also be the position, usually, of your best transmitted signal as well. In addition to the Nagoya antenna, there's a thing called a tiger tail, which is basically a 8 or 10 inch piece of wire that you hook on to the connection of the antenna to the radio if you can, and it just hangs down. It acts sort of like a counterpoise for your HT antenna. They can also be very helpful. A very common solution is to get a very small, cheap bag mount antenna and slap it on top of your refrigerator or a cookie sheet or whatever. It doesn't take a lot of ground plane at 70 centimeter frequencies to make a huge difference. And then that antenna sits in one spot all the time. Even if you move around with your HT, the antenna is still fixed in place and has a lot better gain than the antenna on your HT. And they're on YY back to net, and we'll look for you Wednesday.
Rod, were you able to move to a better location? Can we hear you now?
Upgrade to general to be able to talk to you guys here. I can go DMR and talk to people on social Fort Collins. So, and that's really what I want to do, right? It's not about DMR and digital. I have the internet because I do work cybersecurity and the threats that are coming here. Just trying to understand how to have reliable communication local. So, I think what I'm going to do is maybe go to Perkins for the lunch, and I'm going to try to learn a lot more. So, back to the net, if you can hear me, KC0YJR, thank you all.
What's his call, Ron?
Yeah, can you confirm that it's KC0YJR? Do I have that correct? Kilo Charlie 0?
And yes, this is Kilo Charlie 0 Yankee Juliet Romeo. I'm on QRZ, and I do have an email if you'd like to reach out.
Okay, I got at that time Kilo Charlie Zero Yankee Juliet Romeo, correct?
And yes, that is correct. I'm trying to not move at all in the house here. I'm on the highest floor here. So yeah, back to the net, and I'll just start learning more. KC0YJR.
Okay, the other thing I was going to throw out is do bring your HT and antenna to the lunch with you. And even from that location, it should be able to hit the Horsetooth repeater no problem. So I think that might be a quick test to make sure that the radio is working correctly. So, yeah, unfortunately I don't think I'm going to be there on Wednesday, but I'm sure there will be plenty of folks there that will be able to help you out. Anybody else before we close the net?
EMP.
Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, for KC0YJR, some HTs, I don't know if yours is one of them, some HTs are capable of FM narrowband mode. They can choose between narrowband and wideband. If your radio has that option, making sure that you're on wideband FM may help, because that's what our repeaters use. And 0 EMP.
Yeah, Rod, what kind of HT is it? Yeah, I'm afraid I didn't pick that up. Was anybody else able to read that?
NYY, Rod, check your email and let's establish contact by email. I also included my phone number. We will get you hooked up and working. There's enough solutions. All we have to do is figure out the problem. And 0 NYY, back to net.
And M0YY, this is KC0Y. Thank you, sir. I'll check my email and back to the net.
Yeah, I agree. I just looked up your address on QRZ, and you should be able to hit that Horsetooth repeater no problem from there. So something's not quite right, but we'll get you sorted out. Okay, anybody else before we close the net?
Late check-in, Kilo Foxtrot 0, Oscar Delta Mike, KF0 ODM, Mike in Loveland.
Gotcha, Mike. Thank you. Anybody else?
Late check-in, Whiskey 0, Kilo Juliet Mike, W0, KJM, Kyle, Fort Collins.
Thanks, Kyle. Good to hear you. Anybody else out there?
NYY comment.
Go ahead, Bart.
I don't normally put my email on the air, but I am good on QRZ. And if anybody would like to check out that video of the comparison of my doublet versus the loop-on ground antenna, just drop me an email and I'll send you a link. And 0 NYY.
Thanks, Bart. Anybody else?
W6PL, late check-in, Whiskey 6, Papa Lima, Rich.
Thanks, Rich. Anybody else? Hearing none, this concludes the NCARC TechNet. Net Control would like to thank each station for their participation. We had a total of 26 check-ins tonight. This net will occur again next Monday at the same, I almost said same bat time, at the same time on this repeater. This is K0AZA closing the net at 1904 and returning the repeater to normal operation.
This presentation was brought to you by the Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club. For more information, visit our website, ncarc.net. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.